Philadelphia Eagles, you're on the clock. Welcome back to our 2025 Team Mock Draft Series. This time we're going all 7 rounds with the Philadelphia Eagles. With that getting started, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification icon, you stay up to date every time I drop a team mock draft. If you have questions, if you want to see the rest of the team's work, always check out draftcountdown.com. Let's get over to their depth chart. At this point in time, the Philadelphia Eagles are obviously the Super Bowl champs for a reason. They've got elite starters in a lot of positions. But this offseason has caused a lot of guys to go in different directions. They've lost some really talented players, but this is still a very strong core, a good roster. This draft, with all 8 of their picks, they've got a lot to work with here, so it'll be interesting to see. As I always do, I'm not going to make any trades in this draft. I'm only going to just make the picks as they stand based on how the board falls. When you look at kind of the whole of the Philadelphia Eagles mock drafts that are floating around out there, there's been a lot of names that have been pegged to them. Everyone from Malachi Starks to, I've seen some Donovan Eziraku from Boston College. I've seen plenty of names, but I think the biggest needs that this team has currently as it stands would be edge rusher. I think they could use some added edge rusher help. Really defensive line, period, right? Like Davis and Carter and Nolan Smith are really, really good pieces, but we need to add some more. It'd be nice to see some interior depth help. Not necessarily early unless we find a guy, depending on how the draft falls. But I would be a big fan of getting them an edge rusher. Definitely want to see some wide receiver depth. Depending on how you feel about Grant Calcaterra and Kyler Granson, tight end could be in the conversation. Definitely some offensive line help. Some of these guys are getting a little bit older, so we could look at a tackle. Definitely want to look at maybe a guard potentially on that right side. Safety. I could see us looking at a safety too at some point in this draft. I think corners are pretty good. I think they've got some really elite players in Mitchell. I like Keely Ringo and obviously Cooper DeJean are really strong pieces. Dory Jackson's a vet, a solid vet. Eli Ricks is a younger guy that I think has potential. But other than that, there's some pieces, but I think we could always add some more to there. And let's get over to this mock draft. So on the clock at pick 32, this would be a prime spot to trade back, right? I really think anywhere from kind of 25 on is kind of a prime spot for a team that may want to come to the first round to grab that extra year of eligibility in the contract terms. We're staying put. We're going to make the pick. I'm going to go with Darius Alexander from Toledo. I think you probably are seeing a lot of people talk about him as an early day 2 pick, so why not late day 1? But the nice thing about Alexander is I think he can be a really nice 3 technique. Now the downfall here, I think you are then figuring out how do you get him out on the field from day 1. How do you set this defensive line up to be successful? He's definitely more of an interior guy, so can one of your other 2 be more of an edge rusher? So you can have all 4 of these on the field at the same time. Alexander's got great burst. I think he does a really good job understanding gap recognition. I think he's got a pretty strong football IQ. I think his pass rushing chops can use some growth and development, but he's in a good spot to learn and grow in that area. So give me him here at 32. They're not afraid to take a guy from Toledo. They've done that before, and it's been successful. Back on the clock at pick 64, we just take a quick look on the board. I like Ursery from Minnesota. I think he's a really nice tackle. I don't think we're going to jump on him. We've got running back. We've got wide receiver. We got plenty of running backs. And why not go to the place where Brandon Graham came from in Michigan and grab Josiah Stewart? He's a very explosive athlete. He definitely does a good job using his hands to get off offensive linemen. I think you could use him in a variety of roles in that front 7 of the defense. He does well against tight ends, and he's got a motor that won't quit. So give me Josiah Stewart for the win. On to pick 96. What we've got here is a little bit of everything. Charles Grant's a guy that's climbed into my top 100 players. I really like him out of William & Mary. I believe it was Matt Miller that mocked him to them recently. He's a really good route runner. I think he definitely could be in play for them. I was thinking more in the 4th round, not the 3rd round, so we're just going to go back up. We're going to pull the trigger. We're going to get you a tight end. Harold Fannin Jr. had been one of my favorite ones in this class. I think he could be in consideration for late 2nd into anywhere in the 3rd round. Very athletic, smart player. I think you can use him in a variety of roles. And I think in the 3rd and 4th round, I think wide receiver and tight end are very much in play for Philly. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went wide receiver or tight end there. Back on the clock at pick 134. This time they could. Barrett Carter's one of my favorite linebackers in this draft class. I think he'd be a fun pick. Pair him up with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. That'd be fun as some depth guys that could grow into pieces for them in the long term. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to hit the Iowa well again and grab us at safety. Sebastian Castro from Iowa. I love that. He's a very physical, aggressive safety, but he's smart too. I think he would fit really nicely as a depth kind of guy that could either play early if something happened and he just quite frankly won the job, but he plays like a vet even at such a young age, and he's not afraid to tackle. He's a very sure tackler. I've seen some places talk about him being a linebacker or being a safety with a linebacker mentality. Back on the clock at pick 161, we're going to look at offensive line. Obviously, we don't necessarily need the guys that can start from day one, but we need guys that have the potential to develop into long-term pieces here. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to grab Logan Brown from Kansas from them. I think he's a very strong, big, physical, athletic offensive lineman that I could see him playing inside or outside for this team. He does a good job on the move, so I think he can do some of those things where you have to pull him, and I think he'll do it with good speed and agility. I think he could be a guy that really could develop into a nice piece for them long term. So give me him here at 161. Back on the clock at pick 164. Couldn't forget that they do love themselves some Georgia players. So we're going to double dip in the offensive line category, and we're going to grab Dylan Fairchild from Georgia. Former wrestler that knows exactly how to use his hands to do a good job attacking and really pushing back those defensive linemen. I think he could be a nice interior piece that you could use in a couple of spots there along the offensive line. But at this point in the draft, you're looking for guys with upside, and I think he has quite a bit of that. Just needs some time to develop it, and this would be a great spot to get him. And back on the clock at pick 165. Obviously, we've got 3 picks right here in the 160s, and we got one more to close us out at 168. We're going to grab a wide receiver here. We're going to look at a name that's maybe not necessarily the top of PFF boards, but a little bit down. We're going to go Caden Prather from Maryland. Good size, over 6'3". He's a solid route runner. He's got kind of that big playability that they like to see in this offense. I think you could use him in a variety of positions there, inside or outside, depending on how they want to flex him in there. And I think because he's played against some really elite competition, I think it bodes well for him moving to the next level, being able to be a productive player. You could start him out as a special teamer, let him get comfortable, get settled in, and as time goes on, maybe you get him in for reps, in those big packages with the extra wide receivers on the field. Obviously you don't need him to play early on. You're really just competing for depth at this point. But I think he has a chance to have some staying power at the next level. Back on the clock at pick 168, we're going to finish it off by grabbing them a linebacker. We're going Teddy Buchanan from Cal. Smart player, especially in coverage. I think this guy's got those special teams chops that you could see him play there early. He's got that mentality, that kind of hardworking, willing to do it all type mentality. I think he's actually pretty good as a blitzer, surprisingly enough, but I think he's going to be one of those guys that when you look at the athletic numbers, you're not going to be wowed, but when you look at the tape and the way that he plays and the mentality he has, you're going to fall in love with him. And that'll do it for this draft. Obviously, PFF didn't love it, but most of the time they're kind of up and down on it. I want to know how you guys feel about it. Let me know in the comments below. Would you feel good getting some offensive line, some defensive line, a tight end, a wide receiver, linebacker, safety? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much. Love y'all, and we'll talk to you soon.